Okay, welcome in one and all. I'm a little behind on the schedule or on the recap, so I will be reviewing Saturday's games, uploading this video, and I will be reviewing Sunday's games in the NHL. So there were 13 games on tap on Saturday, starting with the teams you see on your screen between the Montreal Canadiens and the Buffalo Sabres. 3-2 would be the final score in a shootout. Uh, Struble would kick things off in the second for the Montreal Canadiens, getting his first National Hockey League goal. Goal happened with 7 minutes and 1 second remaining in that frame, assisted by Kovacevic, so a defenseman assisting on a defenseman goal. Suzuki would increase the lead to 2-0 just 14 seconds after that, getting his 8th goal of the season, assisted by Matheson and Monahan, and that would be a power play nut. In the third, Jeff Skinner would get the Sabres on the board a minute and 6 seconds into the frame, getting his 12th goal of the season from Thompson. And 6 minutes and 36 seconds in that frame, the captain, Kyle Okposo, would get his 4th goal of the season, assisted by Clifton. Uri Slavkovsky, wow, I cannot pronounce that name. He would get the game-winning goal in a shootout. So with that, the Habs pulled even. 12-12-3 is their record. And with the loss, the Sabres are 11-14-3. All right, we'll take a look at the next matchup, which takes place in Boston, where we have the host team in the Bruins, and they were taking on the Arizona Coyotes. So you should see the team's logos on your screen. 5-3 would be the final score in this one. We'll take a look at the goal scoring summary. So Pastrnak would kick things off in the first, just under 5 minutes remaining in that period, 4 minutes and 38 seconds to be exact, getting his 15th goal of the season. Charlie Coyle would score with less than a minute after that, with 4 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in that frame. 3 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in that period, assisted by Frederick, so it was 2-0 in favor of the Bruins after one. Shattenkirk would get his 2nd goal of the season on a power play, 2 minutes and 2 seconds into that frame, assisted by Pastrnak and Marchand. Keller would finally get the Arizona Coyotes on the board, getting his 9th goal of the season from Zucker and Valimaki. Carcone would then get his 13th goal of the season, and that goal happened 32 seconds after Keller scored. So therefore, the deficit was just 3-2. Heinen would then increase the lead to 4-2 for the Bruins, getting his 4th goal of the season from Portress and Frederick. In the third period, Krause would decrease the lead to 4-3, getting his 12th goal of the season from Achille and Bustad. And then Pastrnak would pretty much put the game away, getting his 2nd goal of the game, his 16th of the season from Geekie and DeBrusque. So 5-3, as I said, is the final score. With that, the Bruins are sitting at 18-5-3. And despite the loss, the Coyotes are still 2 games above 500, 13-11-2. Our next matchup takes place in Calgary, where we have the host Flames, and they were playing against the New Jersey Devils. So the final score in this matchup would be 4-2. Take a look at the goal scoring summary. So just a lone goal in the first from Sharangovich, and a big game for the Flames against the Devils for one reason. That when they had the offseason trade, Sharangovich went to the Flames, and obviously Tyler Toffoli went to the Devils. So Sharangovich, as I said, would opening the scoring against his former team, his 6th goal of the season from Coleman and Solyokov. That would actually be a short-handed goal with just 19 seconds to go. So just imagine how that goal not happened. It would have been all tied up at 0 heading into the second. Hischier would then tie things up for the Devils, 3 minutes and 28 seconds into that frame, getting his 5th goal of the season from Bratt and Luke Hughes. And speaking of Bratt, he would then get a goal with just under 8 minutes remaining in that period, 7 minutes and 29 seconds to be exact. So the Devils had a 2-1 lead after 2. Holtz would increase the lead to 3-1, getting his 8th goal this season, 9 minutes into that frame. Kadri would then cut the deficit to 3-2, getting his 6th goal of the season from Anderson and Hanifin, and Hischier would put the game on ice with 38 seconds to go, getting his 6th goal of the season, assisted by Marino. So with that, the Devils have now improved to 13-11-2, and with the loss, the Flames are now 2 games below 500, 11-13-3. Our next matchup takes place, I believe, in Dallas, where we had the host Stars, and they were taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. So the final score on this one would be 6-1. Take a look at who scored and go from there. So Chandler Stevenson will kick things off in the first for the Vegas Golden Knights, getting his third goal this season, 2 minutes and 24 seconds into the frame, assisted by Howden and McLeod. Speaking of McLeod, he would then get his own goal, his second of the season from Carrier and Roy, 5 minutes and 36 seconds into that frame. Dandonov would finally get the Stars on the board, getting his sixth goal this season, assisted by Ben and Hakpana. Mark Stone would then increase the lead to 3-1 with about 5 minutes remaining in that frame, getting his eighth of the season from Barbashev and Eichel. So it was 3-1 in favor of the Vegas after one. Nick Roy would get the lone goal in the second, getting his fourth of the season, assisted by Mark Stone, and that goal happened with 4 minutes and 59 seconds to go in the frame. In the third, Dorofiev would get his second goal of the year, 2 minutes and 11 seconds into that frame, assisted by Carlson and Cotter. And speaking of Cotter, he'd also get a goal and assist, getting his fourth of the season from McNabb. And that goal happened with 10 minutes and 45 seconds to go in the frame. So with the victory, Vegas has now improved to 18-5-5. And despite the loss, the Stars are still 7 games above 500, 15-8-3. All right, the next matchup takes place in Motown, where we have the Detroit Red Wings, and they're playing against the Ottawa Senators. Okay, so you should see the team's logos on your screen. The final score on this one would be 5-1. Giroux would kick things off in the first, getting his 9th goal of the season, assisted by Chichurkin and Tarasenko. It would be a power play goal, 1 minute 57 seconds into the frame. Patrick Kane would get his first goal as a member of the Detroit Red Wings, a power play goal of his own, assisted by DeBrincat, his buddy, and Lyon in net. So that goal happened with 5 minutes and 11 seconds to go in the frame. So that was a huge goal for Kane, considering that was his second game as a member of the Red Wings. So it was all tied up in one heading into the second. Tarasenko would then get his 6th goal of the season on a power play goal of his own. So that's 3 straight goals to start the game for the respected squads. So he'd get his 6th goal, as I said, assisted by Chichurkin and Giroux. Kubalik would then get a goal to increase the lead to 3-1, obviously playing against his former team. His 5th of the season, assisted by Matthew Joseph, 8 minutes and 36 seconds into that frame. Tim Stützle would then increase the lead to 4-1, getting his 6th goal of the season from Batherson and Zub. And in the third, Sanderson would increase the lead to 5-1 with 3 minutes and 25 seconds to go in the game. So with that, the Sens have now gotten back to 500, 11-11-0. And with a loss, the Red Wings are 14-8-3. So they're still 6 games above 500. Our next matchup takes place in Toronto, where we have the Maple Leafs, and they are playing host to the Nashville Predators. So the final score on this one would be 4-0. So one team did end up with a shutout. Camp would kick things off for the Leafs, getting his 3rd goal of the season in the second period with 5 minutes and 45 seconds remaining, assisted by Timmins. Austin Matthews would then increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 17th goal of the season, assisted by Nylander and Riley, and that goal happened with 2 minutes and 3 seconds remaining in the frame. In the third, Matthews would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 18th of the season, a power play goal with 3 minutes and 11 seconds to go in that period, assisted by Nylander and Tavares. And then with 1 minute and 31 seconds to go, Gregor would then get a shorthanded goal for the Leafs, assisted by Yarncroke, and that is where we would stand at the end of that. So with the victory, the Leafs are now 8 games above 500, 14-6-4. And with the loss, the Predators are 14-13. Take a look at the next matchup between the Washington Capitals and the New York Rangers. A bit of a shocker, I'm not going to lie to you, for this particular matchup. So 4-0 would be the final score, but not for the team that was favored. Milano would kick things off for the Capitals, making it 1-0. His 4th goal of the season from Farabee and John Carlson, and that goal happened 43 seconds into the game. In the second, Mantha would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 6th of the season from Kuznetsov and Sandin, 1 minute and 43 seconds into that frame. Tom Wilson would then increase the lead to 3-0, getting his 9th goal of the year, 5 minutes and 35 seconds into that frame. And then Abu Kubel, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, would then increase the lead to 4-0, getting a second goal of the game, assisted by Malenstein. So with the victory, the Washington Capitals are 13-8-3, and despite the loss, the Rangers are still ahead of that Metropolitan Division, 19-5-1. All right, our next matchup takes place in New York, where we have the Islanders, and they made history by taking on the Los Angeles Kings. So I'm sure by now, if you've been following hockey, that the LA Kings, up until this particular matchup, were perfect on the road. And what's that old saying? All good things must come to an end. So therefore, the Islanders finally snapped the Kings' winning streak when it came to them winning away from home ice. In the second period, Kempe would kick things off for the Kings with a power play goal 5 minutes and 40 seconds into that frame, getting his 9th of the season from Fiala and Doughty. Garikov would then double up the lead to 2-0, his third goal of the season from Fiala and Deneau, and that goal would happen 9 minutes and 8 seconds into the frame. In the third period, Lee would cut the lead to 2-1, getting his 6th goal of the year from Riley and Barzal, 8 minutes and 42 seconds into that frame. And then Lee would then get his second goal of the game, his 7th of the season from Mayfield and Horvat. It would take until overtime to decide a winner, but just 13 seconds into the frame, Pajot would get the game-winning goal, getting a second goal of the season from Holmstrom and Dobson. So with that, the Islanders are now sitting at 12-7-7. And despite the loss, the Kings are still second in that Pacific Division, 16-4-4. All right, the next matchup is a central one with two teams that are very familiar with each other, to say the least. The Chicago Blackhawks were playing host to the St. Louis Blues. Okay, the final score on this one would be 3-1. In the first, Beauvillier, who was just acquired by the Blackhawks from the Canucks, would get his first goal as a member of the as a Blackhawk, his 3rd of the season from Zaitsev and Gutman. Vlasic would then get his first goal of the season for the Blackhawks, assisted by Crevier and Entwistle, if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, 9 minutes and 20 seconds into the frame. So it's 2-0 heading into the second. Dickinson would then increase the lead to 3-0 with 5 minutes and 7 seconds remaining in that frame, getting his 9th goal of the season from Zaitsev and Connor Murphy. And then Oscar Sundqvist would finally get the Blues on the board with 3 minutes and 29 seconds to go in the third, a short-handed goal from Nick Leddy, but at that point it was too little, too late. So with the victory, the Blackhawks are now 7 games below 500, 9-16-1, and with the loss, the Blues are back to 500, 13-13-1. All right, the next matchup takes place in Colorado, where we have the Avalanche, and they are playing host against the Philadelphia Flyers. So the final score on this one would be 5-2. Konechny would kick things off in the first with 2 minutes and 19 seconds remaining in that frame, getting his 15th goal of the season from Couturier and Forster. McKinnon would then tie things up with 1 minute and 1 second to go in the frame, his 11th of the season from Manson and Tay. So it's all tied up at 1 heading into the second. Tippett would get his 9th goal of the season to give the Flyers a 2-1 lead. 9 minutes and 1 second into that second, assisted by Brink. Sanheim would then increase the lead to 3-1, getting his 3rd goal of the season from Frost and Tippett. And Manson would then cut the lead to 3-2, getting his 2nd goal of the season, assisted by Ryan Johansson. So it's 3-2 in favor of the Flyers heading into the third. Konechny would then get his 2nd goal of the game, his 16th of the season, 9 minutes and 31 seconds into the third, increasing the lead to 4-2. And just about 40 seconds after that, Farabee would then knock his 10th goal of the season from Brink and Sanheim to give the Flyers a 5-2 lead, and that is where we stand at the end of the game. So with that, the Flyers are 15-10-2, and despite the loss, the Colorado Avalanche are still second in that division, I do believe, 16-9-2. All right. Just 2 more games to report from Saturday night. Our next one takes place in Seattle, where we have the host team in the Kraken, and they were taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. So the final score on this one would be 4-3. It would take overtime to decide a winner, and I will get to the game winner in momentarily. So Anthony Cirelli would kick things off 9 minutes and 28 seconds in the first, getting his 7th goal of the season from Parabik and Jeannot. Kucherov would then double up the lead to 2-0, getting his 18th of the season from Point and Hagel with 44 seconds to go in the period. So it's 2-0 in favor of the Lightning heading into the second. Bjorkstrand would finally get the Kraken on the board with 10 minutes and 8 seconds to go in the frame, his 8th of the season from Tolvanen and Borgen. Olesiak would then get his 2nd goal of the season, assisted by Eberle, 12 minutes and 23 seconds into that frame. So it's all tied up at 2 after 2. McCann would give the Kraken their first lead of the game, his 13th of the season from Dunn and Eberle, a power play goal just 14 seconds into the period. Nick Paul would then tie the game up, getting his 9th goal of the year from Cirelli and Kucherov. And in overtime, Kucherov would then get his 2nd goal of the game, obviously a game winner, and that would be his 19th goal of the season from Hagel and Radish. And that goal happened with 1 minute and 48 seconds to go in the frame. So with that, the Lightning are sitting at 13, 11, and 5. And with the loss, the Seattle Kraken are 8, 13, and 7. And our last game from Saturday takes place in Vancouver, where we have the host team in the Canucks, and they're taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. So the final score on this one would be 4-3. Sam Lafferty, and I've always said this about this guy ever since he got traded from Toronto to Vancouver, is having an absolutely outstanding season so far, getting his 8th goal this season to open up the scoring, as from Elias Pettersson and Cole, 6 minutes and 17 seconds into the first. In the second, Mikheyev would then double up the lead to 2-0, getting his 9th goal this season from Pettersson and Lafferty. Martinook would get his first goal of the year for the Hurricanes, cutting the deficit to 2-1, 7 minutes and 23 seconds into the frame. JT Miller would then increase the lead to 3-1, getting his 15th goal of the season from Besser and Höglander. And then Brady Shea would cut the deficit to 3-2 with just 56 seconds to go in that second, a power play goal assisted by Orlov, and Bunting. In the third, Noisian would tie things up 2 minutes and 10 seconds in the frame, getting his 8th goal this season from Drury and Burns. And then a minute and 19 seconds after that, so almost a minute and 20 seconds, Elias Pettersson would then give the Canucks a 4-3 lead, getting his 11th goal of the season from Mikheyev and Hronek, and that's where we would stand at the end of that match. So with the victory, the Canucks have now improved to 18-9-1, and with the loss, the Hurricanes are now just 2 games above 500, 14-12-1. All right, that takes care of Saturday's action of the NHL. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, I do videos on the daily, or at least I attempt to. So please feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative for that. As always, take care.